Welcome back to Josh and Kristie Stealing the Internet. I'm Josh.
And I'm Kristie. We've got some more great Reddit stories for you today, so let's get to the first one.
Am I the asshole for leaving my stepdaughter's birthday party after my husband's ex showed up uninvited?
Uninvited is a little bit rude, but is this her daughter's birthday party that she's coming to? I feel like she maybe should have been invited to that anyways.
My husband and I threw a birthday party for his 10-year-old daughter, Lily. We spent weeks planning it, invited our friends and family, and everything was going great until his ex, Sarah, showed up out of nowhere. She wasn't invited. Lily mentioned the party to her, and she just decided to come for Lily's sake. She brought cupcakes, acted like she belonged there, and kept making little comments like how she used to bake Lily's cakes from scratch, or how the decorations reminded her of what she used to do. I asked my husband to say something, but he didn't want to cause a scene. I got so uncomfortable that I just left and stayed at my sister's for the night. Now my husband's upset, saying I made things awkward and should have just stayed for Lily's sake. But honestly, it felt like Sarah took over and I was the one out of place in my own house. Am I the asshole for walking out instead of staying and pretending everything was fine?
I need to know how Lily feels about this. Did Lily want her mother there? It sounds like Lily invited her mother and just didn't tell you.
It certainly sounds like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I kind of feel like this is Lily's mom. She probably wanted her at her birthday party. Why didn't you invite her? I mean, I understand that there can be, like, weird dynamics between divorced people and stuff, but, like, if Lily wanted her there, it should have been at least considered to invite her.
Honestly, Lily's dad didn't seem that upset about it.
Yeah, so I kind of feel like this is a problem on OP's side, like where she is feeling insecure in her marriage because the ex is still hanging around, which you gotta expect when there are kids involved. But I kind of think you were a little bit the asshole. Nobody else seemed to have a problem with her being there, and I get that it's your house, but, you know, it's also Lily's house, and if Lily wanted her mom there, then that's something you kind of need to accept.
Yeah, she's a little vague on the details.
Yeah.
Which makes me just assume that Lily invited her mom, maybe got dad's permission, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of immature to leave a kid's birthday party over something like this. It's like the one event a year that you probably have to see her.
Yeah. I was like Christmases, you can split and stuff, you know, but like her birthday, she probably wants both of her parents there. You're just going to have to suck it up and deal with seeing your husband's ex-wife at events like that.
Top comment. I'm confused by the dynamic. Like, is she not allowed to come? Did you want your husband to kick her out in front of your stepdaughter? How did you want this to be handled?
Yeah, how do you think Lily would feel if her mom was forcibly removed from her birthday party? Like, what? I don't understand. Was it a little bit of an asshole thing for the ex-wife to just show up without, like, checking first? Yeah, maybe, but, like, I feel like she deserved to be there. And, like, what did you expect to happen?
Yeah, if dad wasn't willing to cause a scene, I feel like leave it to his judgment. Sounds like she's not on such horrible relations that he just needed to frog march her out of the party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there is some co-parents where they are on such bad relations, they only see each other at like, kid drop-off, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know,
this doesn't sound like the case.
Yeah. If the husband seems okay letting his daughter's mom into the house for the birthday party, there's not that much animosity between them.
Uh-huh. Isn't it interesting how she frames the situation? It'd be one thing to say, my stepdaughter's mother wasn't invited, compared to my husband's ex wasn't invited. OP was the asshole, even before this whole pity party started.
Yeah.
She even frames it in, like, the worst possible light.
That is a good point. Because, yeah, if it was just a random ex that was not Lily's mother showing up, yeah, that is an asshole move. But it's Lily's mother!
It was her daughter's birthday, and her daughter wanted her to know about it. I completely get not wanting to feel uncomfortable in your own home, and in general I'd be completely on your side, but this is the kind of event where you shouldn't be trying to keep her out, even if she didn't have anything to do with the planning. Acting like she belonged there is rational on her part because parents do belong at their children's birthday party. Very gentle, you're the asshole, because I think you realized this in another comment, where you say that you should have planned the party together with her if she'd reached out. Okay.
Don't know where that comment is. It's buried.
Never can find OP's comments. I will say, though, quietly leaving the party is a lot better than making a scene.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good point. I do feel like if you were not okay with this, quietly leaving is the best thing you could have done. better than making a scene or trying to force the mom to leave.
Yeah, you didn't ruin Lily's birthday party. You obviously cared enough not to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not gonna say you were like a complete asshole or anything.
But you are a little bit of an asshole.
A little bit of the asshole. I feel like this is the one time a year and maybe some school events where you just have to be cordial with her.
Mm-hmm. Am I the asshole for threatening divorce if my husband doesn't start prioritizing the kids and me over his disabled mother?
I mean, I understand taking care of your parents, but you do need to have a healthy balance. So I guess let's find out.
My husband and I have been married for a decade. We have 5 children and I am a stay-at-home mom, a decision we made together. My mother-in-law was diagnosed with high blood pressure. She refused to take her prescribed medication, believing that all she needed to do was pray and fast for healing. Well, 3 years ago, she had a stroke that left her with aphasia and wheelchair-bound 80% of the time.
Always count on you to pick the cheery stories.
Yep. Maybe that's why mine do better, though. She spent many months in hospital, and when she was discharged, my husband went over for a couple of weeks to help her settle in. A caretaker and nurse were hired to help her. Unfortunately, my mother-in-law is a difficult patient, and she has cycled through many caretakers and nurses. She has been physically and verbally abusive to her care team. For example, one evening, a caretaker called because my mother-in-law had fired her at 3 a.m. and threw objects at her when the caretaker told her that she couldn't leave her until someone came over to take care of her.
She's one of those grandmas.
Yep. All this commotion led to my husband spending more and more time at my mother-in-law's trying to sort out her care. Initially, he would drive to her place after work every other day to check that all is in order. His mother lives an hour away from us, so driving back and forth after work was strenuous, so my husband asked to sleep over there instead of driving back. Over time, his sleepovers at my mother-in-law's have become more frequent and extended. Last month, he only spent 1 week at home with me and the children, and the rest of the month was spent at his mother's. Last time he was home, our youngest was afraid of him because he thought he was a stranger.
How old is the youngest?
She says somewhere else less than 2 years old.
Okay.
Like 15 months or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember. We'll get to that eventually.
Pretty young then.
Yeah. I do know when my parents went to Disney World and left me behind when I was 18 months old and took my sisters, I was scared of my sisters when they got back after a week. But I still knew my mama and was like, Mama! You know?
Yeah.
But I was a little bit scared of my sisters when they came back. And my sister was really offended.
Just don't have any long-term memory at that age.
No. I've raised this issue with him, but he accuses me of being heartless and uncaring. He tells me that his mother needs him. So during our call yesterday, I told him that I was thinking of divorce because I'm currently living as a single parent. He didn't take too kindly to that. Edit, I see comments asking the same questions, and I'm going to answer some of the questions here. My husband is my mother-in-law's only surviving child. Our youngest is 15 months. I spent most of the pregnancy alone because of this situation. I had to drive our older children to extracurricular activities while I was heavily pregnant. He was at his mother's when I went into labor, and our neighbor drove me to the hospital while his wife took care of our children.
Oh, jeez.
My mother-in-law does behave better when my husband is around because my husband knows how to calm her down. So even though she is abusive, my husband knows how to de-escalate. She has not been diagnosed with dementia.
She doesn't even have dementia and she's acting like this?
Yeah, because I do know, like, when some older people get dementia, they can become cranky.
Yes.
And,
they can become cranky.
Yeah, and always angry and grumpy.
But she's just an asshole?
Yes, but the mother-in-law does not have dementia. She's just a bitch.
Oh. I mean...
Like, throwing things at your care workers seems extreme. I thought dementia.
That made me think she's very confused, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no, apparently she's just mean. And I gotta go back to the first edit and say, no, you have to be with your wife when she's pregnant. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What do you think the helpers are there for? If you're gonna, you can't just go and do the helper's job.
Why did you even hire them then?
Right. There's plenty of options before you get to the point of having to go. For starters, driving an hour back home. Not that far. You can do that.
I'm wondering if they live in Europe somewhere.
I never considered that.
Because in Europe, they consider 1 hour to be extremely far.
That is true. I didn't consider
and I'm like, that's nothing.
Yeah, I didn't consider it outside of the United States perspective, where we're like, it's only like 3 hours to go visit my parents.
Yeah, I'm thinking they might be in the UK because she said in hospital, not in the hospital.
Oh.
Which is a UK thing.
You're right.
They don't use the hospital, it's just hospital. I have to go to hospital.
I just assumed she forgot to type.
I was in hospital.
I just assumed she forgot to type the.
No, yeah, and I always thought that was super weird, but it's apparently a UK thing.
Huh.
So.
But there's other options before you go so extreme that you just aren't living with your family anymore when you have such small children.
Yeah, he's like, my mom needs me. Yeah, your kids need you too.
Your pregnant wife needs you. Move your mom closer. Move her into an assisted care facility. I'm sorry, I know she's gonna hate that.
It's time to do it. There is more edits about that.
Okay.
When we spoke about a care home, my husband was not willing to consider it because my mother-in-law is attached to her home, and my husband was told that moving her to a place she is unfamiliar with her surroundings may cause her to deteriorate. He also said there are many horror stories about elderly abuse at care homes.
I mean, crap, those are horror stories. That's like the worst case ones. There's plenty of nice ones.
I think the thing is you gotta move her to a care home closer to you so you can go in and check on her and make sure she's doing okay.
Yeah.
And it won't be like an overnight trip because it's too far away.
And obviously, it's nicer for her to be able to stay in her own home. It does not sound like it's an option now.
There comes a point where it is not an option and you just have to move them into a home.
Yes. I actually used to work advertising at a senior living community. And the people that moved in before dementia set in were much happier because they understood what was happening.
Yes, that's true. Get her moved in somewhere and settled before the dementia hits.
Like, you can still make friends.
Mm-hmm.
You aren't as isolated, even if you're in a wheelchair.
You aren't as confused the whole time, yeah.
It's a much better time to join the community.
We spoke again after my post. He was weeping, saying his mother is dying and he wants to spend as much time as possible with her before she passes. He also said threatening divorce was cruel. Okay, I get wanting to spend time with your mother before she passes, but he is missing out entirely on his children's childhood. Like, they are growing up and they do not have a father.
Yeah.
He's missing it completely.
Yeah, I can understand why a 15-month-old wouldn't recognize him if he's gone that often. He's just the guy that turns up every now and then. How old is Mom?
They never give ages.
Okay.
Married 10 years with 5 kids. For them, and then the mom, I don't know.
That could be a big range, but I bet she's not, 90. I feel like Mom has the potential of hanging around for a long time, which is good. Not for your marriage, but...
More edits.
Oh, geez, there's more?
My husband is supervising the nurses and caregivers that are caring for my mother-in-law, not caring for her himself. The caregivers and nurses are board-certified professionals who are experienced in elderly care. Her behavior is more agreeable when my husband is around. There are less fits of anger.
I feel like if he stuck around for a few weeks to kind of get her accustomed to the nurses, that's fine. But, needing to supervise them all the time, it feels like it's pointless for them to be there.
Yeah. Many have been asking why I have allowed this issue to continue for so long. Because it started before she was pregnant, and her youngest is now 15 months old, so it's been going on years. My answer is my mother-in-law was a kind, supportive, and generous woman before the stroke. She lived with us for 3 months when we had our first baby. She cooked, cleaned, and cared for the baby when I needed sleep. She was always willing to take care of the children when my husband and I needed some time to ourselves. The children loved visiting their Nana and Papa, who has since passed. So yes, I'm frustrated that her refusal to take her prescription has caused this chaos, and that she has been uncooperative with her care team, and that she has treated her care team poorly, but the last 3 years are not full reflection of who she was and the life she lived. She dedicated much of her life to her family, community, and charity work, so please don't condemn her. I have read comments from those with experience in traumatic brain injury rehab, and I do believe that the stroke has affected her impulse control and emotional regulation. I also want to add that the stroke happened a few months after the passing of father-in-law. That is a thing where once you have a stroke, it changes your personality, or it can.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks that happened to Mother, but yeah, he's got to be a dad and a husband.
Mm-hmm. Mother-in-law needs to be moved closer to your home so that husband can still see her, but, it's not a strain on your marriage. Top comment. His mom needs to be moved into a care home that is equipped to handle her. He's a dad and he can't abandon his family over 75% of the time. It's harming his relationship with you and the kids. Don't threaten divorce unless you're ready to go down that path. It's not an empty threat, and it's not something you can always come back from.
That's true. It's not just something you can retract easily.
I do feel like they're a little late with that advice. She already threatened divorce.
Well, yeah.
Last time he was home, our youngest was afraid of him because he thought he was a stranger. So what was his reaction to this? Because quite frankly, if this wasn't a wake-up call for him, I'm not sure anything else you can say would be.
That's also a good point. He's clearly missing out on a lot.
Yeah, if that doesn't want to make him change things, I don't think anything will. Like, if I went home and my children did not recognize me, I would be traumatized and be like, okay, we're fixing things immediately. I need to be more involved.
Yeah, I have to wonder if Grandma would want you destroying your family like this, just because she needed extra care.
It almost sounds like mother-in-law is pulling this shit with her care team to keep her son by her side. She will guilt him into staying and keeping her out of a nursing facility as long as he'll allow her to. If it's gone on this long, I do not see him putting his foot down anytime soon.
That one feels like it was written before one of her edits. She very clearly, appreciated their family and wanted them to be, all happy.
And there's a little update. The children and I drove to my mother-in-law's yesterday. Yes, I'm letting the kids take some time off of school. And the mood instantly lifted when we arrived. As I write this, my toddler is sitting on my mother-in-law's lap having a conversation that only the two of them understand. My husband and the older children are playing tag. The caregivers are also cheerful. When I arrived yesterday, my husband and I had a deep conversation about this issue. I apologized for threatening divorce and told him that I am feeling extremely overwhelmed and exhausted and that this has affected my interactions with the children because I have become extremely impatient. We cried. We are going to have a serious conversation with mother-in-law, hopefully later today, where we detail how this has affected our lives, suggest an assisted living facility, and give her the opportunity to give her input on this. It's looking positive but uncertain. There's a very long road ahead of us and many life-changing decisions to be made. And that's the end of the update. So kind of looking hopeful. Looks like they're going to try and work it out.
That's good. I think that's for the best. I don't think anybody wanted the family to split up.
No, and I understand not wanting to put your mother in an assisted living facility, but at some point it just needs to be done.
It sounds like it. It sounds like husband was probably overwhelmed, wife was overwhelmed. They just needed to make the decision that they didn't want to make.
Mm-hmm.
Am I the asshole for not bringing my daughter's friend home and making her parents come get her?
I don't know what opinion to have on this with that little information.
My daughter and I live about an hour outside New York City. Since she was a baby, I've taken her there most weekends. As she's gotten older, she occasionally brought friends. They always know the rules. Bring a bag with things for the train, carry your own stuff, stick together, expect lots of walking, and have fun. Phones are fine, but I encourage screen-free activities. I always speak to parents beforehand and emphasize the walking. We sometimes walk 45 minutes or more.
That actually doesn't sound like that much walking.
No, not in New York City. For her 12th birthday last weekend, she wanted to go to the city with friends, visit favorite spots, have dinner, and maybe see a show. My mom helped pay for tickets and joined us. My daughter invited 3 girls, 2 longtime friends who know the routine, and a new friend, Leia. I called Leia's mom, explained the rules, warned about the walking, and suggested Leia bring something for the train since the signal is bad. Leia's mom said she was excited. My daughter also explained expectations. On the train, Leia brought only her phone, got bored when the signal cut out, refused to chat or play games with the others, and complained. When we arrived, she immediately asked for a cab. My daughter reminded her we walk. As we browsed shops, Leia kept whining and asking for a cab. I stayed patient, offered water and snack breaks, and even suggested the subway to be nice, but she refused when she learned what it was.
Ew, that sounds gross. I'm not going on the subway.
I mean, the New York City subway is famous.
Yeah, for being gross.
A few hours in, we stopped for dinner at a place with options for everyone. Leia complained again and said she wanted to go home. I pulled her aside to check if she was sick or upset. She just said it was boring. I told her we'd be there a few more hours for the show, but if she wanted to leave, she could call her mom. Leia called, and her mom asked me to bring her back. Even if my mom or I left with Leia and took a train back after we dropped her off, we'd miss the show, and my daughter wanted both of us there. I explained we wouldn't head back until after the show. Leia's mom didn't want to pay for a train ticket or drive. She eventually sent Leia's dad, who picked her up before the show. Leia stayed crabby throughout dinner. Afterward, Leia's mom trashed me to the other moms, but they backed me up, saying they wouldn't expect me to cut the trip short unless a child was sick or hurt, which I would do. Now Leia's mom won't let her hang out with my daughter. I can't help wondering if I should have just sucked it up and taken her home. Am I the asshole?
Not the asshole. Now Leia's mom won't let her hang out with your daughter? That sounds like a win to me. I would not want my daughter hanging out with that little brat. I'd be like, I'm not letting my daughter hang out with your daughter. Take that. Yeah, it sounds like she's spoiled and entitled, and I don't know.
She didn't take 45 minutes of walking seriously when you warned them.
She didn't take any of your warnings to heart. She didn't bring anything on the train to do, and then was like, I'm not going to play games with everybody else. I don't know, she just seems so grumpy the whole day. Why did she even want to go?
It is a little weird, right?
Yeah.
The show is like the highlight of the evening. Did she not want to see that?
I don't know. I was like, yeah, okay, you think the rest of this is boring, but the show is the good part, and that's coming up. That's the part you want to skip?
Yeah, dinner and the show were the parts she wanted to skip.
I mean, it sounds like if she had known how the whole day was going to go, she would have wanted to skip the whole thing. She was not happy at all day, but finally called it quits right before the good part.
Yeah, I don't know if the cab would have improved the experience unless she just really hated walking. It sounds like they're just walking down the street kind of exploring shops.
Yeah.
Which you can't really do in a cab.
No, I was like, walking is part of the experience and window shopping and stuff.
Yeah. And Leia's mom asking you to bring her back is crazy.
Yeah.
You can't just you've got 2 adults on this birthday trip.
Mm-hmm.
You can't ask one of them to leave.
Like, cutting the whole trip short and ruining it is like, that is so inconsiderate.
Yeah, unless the kid is sick, then maybe one of the chaperones can go back with her. But if she's just bored, mom and dad can get her, or Leia can suck it up.
Yeah, even if she was sick, I might kind of be like, hey, I can't abandon the rest of the kids on this trip. You need to come get your daughter because she's sick. And if they absolutely could not, then I might, have to cut the trip short. But I still think even if she was sick, I would expect her parents to come get her.
Maybe, yeah. You only live an hour outside of the city.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like Leia's mom's reasoning for not wanting to come get her was she didn't want to pay for a train ticket or drive.
Yeah, that's a lame excuse. It's your daughter. Come get her. You're responsible for her.
Right. Top comment shares your opinion. The fact that Leia's mom won't let Leia hang out with your daughter is a bonus. Leia sounds like she is high maintenance and whiny, bad influence on your kid. Write it off as an experience your daughter will learn from, not the asshole.
Yeah, I bet your daughter doesn't even really want to hang out with her anymore because she was so whiny the whole trip and ruined it.
She ruined her birthday
everyone.
Party.
If I had a friend that acted like that, I would have serious second thoughts about inviting them to anything else ever.
Yeah, she ruined the birthday party. Not the asshole. Mother of a 13-year-old here, and I would have done the same. I also would not be too fussed about my child losing this particular friend, and I wouldn't allow her to come on any more trips, sleepovers, playdates. I've actually banned whiny or difficult children from my house before after telling my child exactly why. They are fine with it. To which OP replied, my daughter and I had already discussed that Leia was not a city friend, but she had hoped they could still be friends who hung out in our area. But I see her point. I worked really hard to make sure my child is relatively no fuss when we travel, and I don't need other people undoing that. But most of the comments on Reddit are just people agreeing Leia's mom won't let Leia hang out with your kid anymore. Good.
Yeah, this sounds like a win-win. That doesn't sound like a problem. It sounds like a good thing.
Yeah, it sounds like a good thing. Hey, if you're liking this video so far, hit that subscribe button for us.
Yeah, we really appreciate your support, and it lets us know that we should keep making fun videos like this for you guys. Am I the asshole for telling my friend that her free wedding is unrealistic?
As somebody who has had to pay for a wedding, I agree. A free wedding sounds very unrealistic. I sure wish it wasn't, though.
I, 24 female, am a member of a friend group in which one member, we'll call her Coral, 23 female, is getting married. She announced her engagement to her fiancé, 25 male, a few weeks ago, and we were all happy for her. Over the weekend, though, she shared more specific plans for the wedding, and that's where things have gone kind of off the rails. She said she's been seeing a lot of people on TikTok and Insta showing how to plan free weddings. Weddings where the couple spends $0 aside from the marriage certificate fee, I guess. At first, I thought she meant a city hall wedding, which would be completely fine. But then she got to the details and her expectations for the ceremony. She's going to try and find someone with a large outdoor space to use, not formally a wedding venue, who will donate their area in support of love. She's trying to have all of her guests bring a potluck with very specific assignments. She will have a friend officiate, a friend do the photography, a friend do the save the dates and invites, her family do the flowers, etc.
Okay, hold on. Is she expecting the friend that's doing the invites to pay for all the paper and postage? Wow. Okay.
And like her family to do the flowers. Someone's still got to buy those flowers, right?
Yeah, someone's got to buy the flowers.
I mean, even if it's cheaper to buy them and like make your own bouquets instead of paying the florist to make them, it still costs money for the flowers.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like these are good cost-cutting measures. I can kind of get behind a lot of them until I realize that she isn't expecting to pay for, like, the materials.
She's also expecting her family to do some of the harder to swing, in my opinion, things like getting a large tent, decorations, wedding favors, speakers, band, etc. I'm not sure what her plan was for the dress. What's more is that Coral and her fiancé really aren't poor from what I can tell. She works as an accountant at a big company and her fiancé does software sales. Plus, his parents are loaded. It sounds like they just want to do the free wedding thing for the sake of it. That would be okay, but she's just shifting all of the costs onto other people, some of whom are probably less well off.
Yeah, it sounds like she's just hoping that everyone will pay for everything for her.
Yeah, she just wants her friends and families to pay for everything.
Yeah.
Like, you're in charge of this, and you're in charge of this, and you're in charge of this, and everything gets done, but she doesn't have to do any of it or pay for any of it.
Well, she's not going to get any gifts. The wedding is everyone's gift to her, it sounds like.
I think that's a bit extreme. Like, that's, like, way more than most people would spend on gifts.
I don't know. I mean, if you don't count labor,
Mm-hmm.
would postage for a couple hundred people, maybe that's about what I would spend on a gift if I liked the person?
Yeah, but she probably wants, like, fancy invitations, too, and stuff.
I don't know. It depends.
And then you still have to cook and bring a dish for the potluck. Like, yeah, I could kind of see bringing a dish for the potluck instead of a present, but then also being expected to do other things, that's a bit much. She told me that she wants me to make the cake and then sent me some pictures for inspiration. The cakes were ridiculously elaborate. We're talking multi-tier, fondant flowers, gold leaf. One even had a hand-painted watercolor design. I'm not a professional baker. I just like to bake cookies and brownies sometimes. She's not even a cake decorator, just cookies and brownies. So does she have any cake decorating experience?
It sounds like no. She's just like, OP likes to bake. Let's have her make the cake.
I told her that those cakes would probably take me days to make and they wouldn't come out anywhere near as good. She kind of laughed that off and said, "Oh, it's not about being perfect. It's just about everyone pitching in. It'll be fun."
Is she an influencer? Is this like she's gonna TikTok the whole wedding?
That seems like a distinct possibility. I told her that, fun or not, what she was describing was basically her friends and family subsidizing her wedding with time, money, and labor, and that it was kind of unfair to expect people to spend so much on her free wedding. Or else she was expecting everyone to show up to a lackluster event, just pretend it was amazing. It's like a group project that none of us wanted to do because we already graduated and moved on from all of that, so we don't need the credit. She does graduate a year later than the rest of us.
Wait, she's not graduated?
Yeah, sounds like they're still in college.
I thought she worked at an accounting firm and made good money.
Okay. I don't know. Yeah, that's a good point.
She's doing a lot of things, I guess.
I said that if she wants a free wedding, she should probably just elope or go to City Hall because this isn't really free, it's just free for her. I might have been a bit more forceful in my wording, but I didn't swear or call her names or anything like that. She got super quiet and just looked at me for a minute or so and then left, with another one of our friends driving her home. Later that night, I got a text from that friend saying I had really hurt Coral's feelings and that even if the plans were a bit unrealistic, I should have just let Coral come to that conclusion on her own. Coral then messaged me saying, "Sorry, don't worry about the cake," with no more context.
Okay.
I am feeling pretty bad now, especially since Coral was so happy and excited and she never really said anything mean to me. Perhaps I should have just gone along with the cake, since she said she wouldn't be mad if it turned out badly. But I am worried that her wedding would not have been what she wanted, and I was also frustrated about the cake request. And then there's an edit. Honestly, I feel a bit bad now. Coral really is a sweet person who is just a bit naive. I feel like a lot of people in the comments are tearing her up more than she deserves. She's always been the baby of the group, and I just got frustrated and ranted on this case. I don't know what the fiancé thinks about all of this. That's a good point. What does the fiancé think?
Yeah, that is a good question. I mean, if they got this far into the planning, I have to assume that he agrees with her plan for a free wedding. Personally, if she said she doesn't mind if the cake isn't perfect, I might be tempted, if I really like this person, to be like, this is my wedding gift to you.
Okay, that is coming from us who have some experience baking cakes for like family parties and things. She says she doesn't have experience with cakes, just cookies and brownies.
Yeah.
That is so different than decorating a wedding cake.
Yeah, I get that, but it's kind of what the bride wants. She really is into this free thing.
I feel like she's going to be super disappointed when you show up with a Nailed It version of a wedding cake. Like, you know that Netflix show Nailed It?
Yes.
Where they bake cakes and it's all really horrible because they're all amateurs and they only have an hour to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if the wedding cake is going to look like that, and Coral is going to be upset because her wedding isn't perfect.
I suppose so. I feel like Coral's vision of a wedding, though, is just this free thing. If this is what she wants to lean in on, I feel like arguing with it is weird. I understand that Coral's trying to have a free wedding, but it's sort of like her dream. As far as I can tell, this sounds like something she's really into. So I might go along with it and do my best. Maybe that's what she wants. She wants the love of her family. It kind of sounds like a little bit of a redneck wedding, in my opinion. Everyone brings stuff for the potluck.
I don't know. The fiancé comes from money. I do not feel like this is the type of wedding that she has in mind is what it's going to turn out as.
If the fiancé comes from money, I bet someone in his family has a big yard.
That's true. She's asking the wrong people to pitch in for this wedding, though. She's asking her friends and family, and she needs to be asking his friends and family who are rich and wouldn't mind pitching in.
I don't know. I've been to weddings like this. You show up at a farm, you go out to the field, somebody got a big tent, probably from a rental center, but still, and they get married in the big tent in the field, and everyone brings stuff for a potluck. It's kind of a fun wedding. They do spend money on it, though. It's not all free.
Yeah. I was like, you still gotta spend money on the wedding invitations and the tent and the DJ. Food and the DJ. It's like, getting all this for free is not happening.
No, she's very optimistic.
She's just shifting all the money onto other people, which is not cool. Top comment. NTA, she's in for a rude awakening the first time she asks for a free party tent from someone. Those are as expensive AF to rent.
It does make me wonder if you could have held in your explosion a little longer if somebody else would have shot her down for you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think I might have just been like, I am not comfortable making your wedding cake, but not burst her dreams of a free wedding and let someone else do that.
I'd have just gone along with it until she failed or succeeded and got a mediocre wedding.
Okay, but at that point what if it doesn't fail and then you're roped into making a wedding cake and taking a week off of work to try and make an elaborate wedding cake and failing at it?
I'd do it. I say go for it.
It's possible to do a wedding pretty cheaply. It is not possible to do a fancy wedding for free. Then someone else replied, I completely agree. Cheap is possible, but it's not going to be fancy, and people need to volunteer rather than being voluntold.
That is true. She was voluntolding people.
NTA, your friend is also embarrassing herself. Guests are not beneficiaries and employees. Coral is being tacky, and I honestly have secondhand embarrassment for her. I think a realistic discussion about this is akin to letting her know she has spinach in her teeth.
See, I've realized the problem with why I'm not agreeing with all the commenters. It's because I want Coral to fail more spectacularly.
You want the wedding to be a disaster.
I want the fireball to be much bigger than it currently is when it goes up.
I also got secondhand embarrassment reading this post. In OP's edit, she calls her friend incredibly naive, but it's hard for me to believe a 23-year-old really doesn't see how she is putting the burden of her entire wedding on other people. She has to know this.
Maybe she's fine with it. I desperately want to see how this wedding turns out when she's just getting randos to fill in roles. Do you remember our one friend's got married and she just needed a song edited for her to walk down the aisle? She wanted a Piano Guy's song, but she needed it to be sped up by like 75% or something.
Yeah.
Was that what she wanted? No. She wanted like a specific slice out of the song, and she needed it sped up a little. And I was in the group text, and I'm like, well, I'm not that good at editing. I'll let somebody else handle it. And somebody texted back immediately and said, I've never done it before, but I have some free software on my Mac. I can figure it out. And she said, okay. And I chimed in. I was like, no, I'll do it.
I actually have some experience doing it, so...
I have some editing software on my computer. I'm a little out of practice, but I took classes. So I feel like the happy volunteers, I desperately want to see how that wedding turns out with that level of happy volunteer of, I'll figure it out.
It's better to be clear up front about the burden she's placing on her guests than to have her wail afterwards, why did no one warn me there would be social consequences, after she alienated her entire social circle. You just want this to go on and on and on, so it's a disaster of a wedding because she deserves it.
I want it to fail so badly. I'm so upset that OP showed up with all of her dumb logic.
You want it to be a janky, trashy wedding.
I do.
With the cake falling over mid...
No, I don't want the cake to fall over mid-cutting. I want OP to show up with a cake that dissolved in the car. Just like a pile of crumbs and say, I'm sorry. That's what I want from this wedding, and I'm so mad that OP stopped her.
And you want everything to be of that quality.
I do. That would be so wonderful. And I want the whole thing recorded.
That seems a little mean and vicious, but I mean, she kind of deserves it.
Am I the asshole for expecting my wife to visit my family for the holidays?
Not the asshole. I think it's expected to go visit family on the holidays, but the thing is, when you're married, it has to be a taking of turns has to occur. It has to be one holiday with your family, one holiday with my family, and switch back and forth.
Okay, I don't think that's the situation, but that is a good point. That is a good thing.
Okay. Well, with that being the only information you gave me, that makes me think that he's expecting her to do all of the holidays with his family and none with hers.
Ah, okay. Well, let's just get into it.
Okay.
My wife, 32, and I, 33, married over 2 years ago, and she is still salty about what my parents wore to the wedding. My dad wore jeans with a blazer, and my mom wore a Patagonia-like vest under a silk shirt that was clearly visible, and Crocs.
I might have beef with your family, too, if that's what they wore.
I understood that was definitely not wedding-appropriate attire, and I did tell them what to wear. However, having dealt with them my entire life, I cannot say I'm surprised. She says she is upset because our wedding photos were not nice to look at, and she never framed them. You must have some weddings without the in-laws in them that you could have framed.
Yeah, I was like, frame the ones of just the two of you, not the whole family. You don't need to frame the whole family anyways.
I just want the one of groom and bride holding hands. That's the only one I'd consider framing.
Yeah.
My dad also yelled at the waiter, which was bad, yes. But she didn't know until after the wedding, and my sister managed to get him under control, so it didn't impact the wedding.
Okay, it sounds like your family is a nightmare. I might not want to visit them either.
We fought about this a few days at the end of the wedding. But it died down, and we stopped discussing it, partly because my parents live 7 hours away, so she never interacted with them after the wedding.
Thank goodness.
She told me that she wasn't visiting my family, and I took it to mean that year, which was fine, as the memory was too fresh, but she actually meant never. We had our son 8 months ago, and she refuses to come to see my parents for the holidays. I would understand if it was that she wasn't feeling well, but she is feeling amazing because she hiked for hours the previous weekend and wants to go skiing again this season. She basically just doesn't want to interact with my family. My parents are not easy to deal with. My dad is not friendly, and he is bitter from being unaccomplished, so that basically left him with a miserable attitude. Sounds like you don't like your parents either.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that's a little harsh.
However, visiting once a year and sucking it up for a few hours a day when he hasn't actually blown up or made comments towards my wife beyond at the beginning when he said he doesn't like her profession and not to her face doesn't seem unreasonable for her to dislike him that much.
Okay, I'm gonna save my comments for the end.
No, let him out.
Okay, I was gonna say that it sounds like your wife wants to go no contact with your parents, and if the only reason for that is because they dressed inappropriately for your wedding and yelled at a waiter, that might be a bit extreme. But, I mean, what else are you leaving out? It sounds like your parents are just terrible people, And so I want more to the story about why she hates them so much, because I'm assuming there's more to the story.
I mean, his dad just openly said he doesn't like her profession.
Yeah.
And might not like her, I don't know.
It sounds like they're extremely disrespectful. I wouldn't want to spend time with them either. It sounds like these might be people you need to go no contact with just because they're toxic.
But she refused, and traveling with an 8-month-old is incredibly difficult. She is still breastfeeding him, but has some frozen milk built up and thinks I should accept her not wanting to visit my parents by either bringing the frozen milk to feed him for a few days, or I go alone. I tried to tell her it is really rude not to at least try to get along, and if there is a fight, she won't need to interact with them again, but she straight up refuses. I feel like I'm being made the asshole for expecting her to do this, but speaking with colleagues and close friends, most have family they do not like, and most do not like their in-laws and still make an effort to go at least once a year. But my wife says they ruined her wedding photos, so her not visiting them makes them even.
Not visiting them for the rest of their lives? So it sounds like the wife thinks this is just over the wedding photos. That is the only reason she keeps giving for why she doesn't want to go see them, is because they ruined her wedding photos.
But it sounds like there's other reasons that she didn't say.
Yeah, but I feel like that's the thing she's holding the grudge over and the reason she wants to go no contact. And that's a little weird and overreactive.
I agree on that. Like, the wedding photos thing is a reason to hold a bit of a grudge, maybe, but...
For 1 year, not the rest of their lives.
Yeah. But also, it sure sounds like his parents aren't great outside of that.
Yeah, I was like, I need more information. Is that really the only reason your wife doesn't want to go visit them? Because if yes, then that is ridiculous. But it sounds like there's could be a lot more reasons why she doesn't want to go visit them. And then in that case, that's a valid decision to make.
Yeah. And on top of that, maybe she just doesn't want to travel with an 8-month-old.
Yeah, I was like,
but
that's a little tough. 8 months is in the range where you could travel. They're okay to like see people because they have a little bit of an immune system by that point and stuff. 7 hours in a car with an 8-month-old is a lot.
True.
But my parents did that. They drove 6 hours to see their parents 4 times a year the entire time me and my sisters were growing up, like even when we were babies.
Yeah, I mean, it's doable.
Mm-hmm.
It does sound like she's holding a big grudge about the wedding, but maybe there was a lot of little things and that's the final straw. Top comment. You're the asshole. My parents are miserable people. I told them if they gave my husband attitude or tried any of their manipulative bullshit with him, I would cut them off so fast their heads would spin. That's how you're supposed to handle the situation. You're basically saying, yeah, my parents are awful, but she just needs to suck it up for a couple days a year. And that's a stupid way to live life. Stand up for your wife. You married her and had a kid with her. She should come first. Go see your parents and see if they ask where she is. Say that they are miserable people that owe her an apology, and that you completely understand why she doesn't want to visit them. Basically, you need to grow a backbone. You're an adult with a family of your own at this point. Stop enabling their bad behavior just because it's easier to deal with.
Yeah, those are all good points. Also, I feel like if your wife wants to be no contact with your parents, that's something you need to accept or not accept. Don't try and coerce her into going, you know?
I feel like the solution is not a guilt trip at the very least.
Yes.
Or telling her to suck it up, dad's just an asshole.
Like, yeah, you can have a serious discussion about it, but yeah, don't try and be manipulative and make her go. If you still want to go, just go by yourself.
And wife offered that.
Mm-hmm.
You're the asshole. It isn't just about the wedding, which, wow, that's another post entirely. They're rude, off-putting, and seemingly very selfish people, and your dad throws tantrums. Your wife is a brand new mom, and they live 7 hours away. It is completely abnormal, in my opinion, to expect her to travel like that, and be around awful people while trying to breastfeed, etc. You're being an awful new dad and a terrible husband. If your parents want to see you all so bad, they can travel 7 hours to you and get a hotel room.
Yeah, I feel like that's also a valid option. Why don't your parents travel to see you? Because they don't have a newborn.
Yeah, that's possible. I mean...
Well, not a newborn, but a baby.
A baby, yeah. Yeah, it's right at that weird age where it's like not a newborn, but you're still probably treating it like one.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first kid. You want her to spend her baby's first Christmas in a stressful environment with a clearly unsupportive husband? You're the asshole.
Yeah, that's a good point. Baby's first Christmas is supposed to be special and magical.
And dad's going to be upset that he's so unsuccessful in life.
Am I the asshole for not combining income and or sharing my savings with my girlfriend so we can both have spending money?
I think combining your income is usually something you do after you get married, not after you start dating.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm going to try and keep this short. My girlfriend and I moved in together this past summer. We split joint expenses, rent, utilities, grocery, etc., proportional to income. I make about 3 times as much as my girlfriend. As a result, I pay 75% of our joint expenses. I have virtually no expenses outside of the joint expenses. My girlfriend has a lot of expenses outside of our joint expenses. She has a car payment, student loan payments, health insurance premiums, medical debt, personal credit card debt, etc. At the end of the month, she does not have very much money left over. I have a fair bit left over at the end of the month, but most of it I save. I do have a fun money account to treat myself to nice things every once in a while.
Okay, he might get to this in a second, but I get that 75%. That seems fair. But it does sound like he's maybe being a little just about himself with that ratio. That's a good way to divide it, in my opinion. You make 3 times as much as her, so you take 3 times the bill. I think that sounds fair on paper until you list off all the other debts that she has, in which case, if you're living with this person, you must like them, you're probably planning a future together, maybe you could take a little more of the expenses, my friend. Yeah, I feel like combining your assets at this point still seems odd, but you have fun money. Are you spending any of that fun money on her?
However, I do feel like she is getting a great deal by only having to pay for 25% of an apartment and all the expenses associated with it.
That is true. She is getting a good deal, and it sounds like she wouldn't even be able to make half.
About a month ago, my girlfriend approached me about the idea of combining income so we each have money at the end of the month to save and or to do fun things. I flatly refused this request. I think splitting joint expenses proportional to income is a fair model for an unmarried couple like us living together, and that is what we do. Over Halloween weekend, my girlfriend's sister and her fiance are having their bachelorette and bachelor parties, respectively. My girlfriend is going to the bachelorette party, and I'm going to the bachelor party. The bachelor party will be a weekend boys' trip to Florida. The bachelorette party is substantially smaller due to my girlfriend's inability to contribute financially to the fund for the party. My girlfriend and her sister talked about the situation. My girlfriend told her sister she cannot afford a big trip. My girlfriend's sister asked how I was affording the bachelor party trip. Then, for reasons that still make no sense to me, my girlfriend went into detail about how much I make and how much I have in savings. I have substantial savings because I went to college on scholarship, and after I graduated, my parents gifted me my entire college fund. My girlfriend's sister has convinced my girlfriend that I'm selfish with money, even though I cover 75% of our joint expenses and cover 100% of our going out activities when we go out.
Okay, so you are spending some money on her. That's good.
I am pretty pissed about my girlfriend sharing my personal financial information with her sister, but I am unchanged in my position on combining our income. Am I the asshole?
This is a tough one for me. Personally, I think you're taking a very mathematical approach to a relationship. Like you're dividing it very cleanly, 75%, 25%. You are doing 100% of your date money, which is nice. I have to wonder, at no point he said how far into the relationship they are.
Far enough to be living together, that's all we know.
Yeah, which would help a lot, honestly.
And he's
And he's debt-free.
And they've been dating long enough that he's going to the brother-in-law's bachelor party.
Oh, that's true.
So
they've probably been together for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to this one. I want to say that she is being a bit selfish. Personally, I don't give a damn that she told your finances to her sister.
I don't know, that's kind of private information. You might not want everybody knowing how much you make.
I think people are too shy about telling their money to people. It's her sister. I say suck that one up. But I don't know. The fact that she couldn't go to the bachelor party, it sounds like she's got a lot of debt, and you only doing 75%. Is she bad with money?
It sounds like, yeah, because of all of the debt she is in.
But, like, all the things that he listed were, like, medical and student loans and...
Car payment, student loan, health insurance premium, medical debt, those cannot be avoided. But personal credit card debt, how much of it is that?
How much of that personal credit card debt is the medical debt?
That's a good point, too. How much of it is because she's trying to pay off student loans and medical debt because she has to.
Yeah.
So she's putting things on the credit card that she needs but can't afford because she's paying off the other debts.
So I don't want to outright say you have to combine your income when you're still just dating, because I don't think that's the solution. But it sounds like your girlfriend needs a little help financially, and you might need to take on a little more of the burden if you love this girl. It's not mandatory. I'm just saying, like, if you want the relationship to be stable.
My opinion is 100% absolutely do not combine finances with someone before you are married.
I fully agree with that.
Now, I do think, and I don't know because this is so hard, he doesn't say, like, she's bad with money. These might have just been all unavoidable expenses, you know?
Yeah.
And she might actually be good with money. She just doesn't make enough and is struggling. And if that's the case, I feel like, yeah, like, you know, she really wants to go on a bachelorette trip. Maybe you have a lot of savings. Maybe pitch in for that.
Yeah, I don't think a trip to Florida is going to break your bank, it sounds like.
I don't want to say, like, I would cover 100% of the rent and the, you know, joint expenses and stuff or anything. But I feel like I would throw her some extra cash every once in a while if there was something that, like, came up.
A trip.
Yeah.
I feel like it would not be that crazy to be like, hey, your birthday's coming up. I'm going to pay for your bachelorette party trip.
Yeah, I do feel like he could be a little bit more generous. If this is someone he loves and sees himself marrying, eventually you are going to join, you know, finances, if that's the case. But, you know, until then, I wouldn't want to join finances, but I would be a bit more generous with my money, maybe.
He just comes across very defensive about his money to me in this post. Like, he's like, I have it mathematically worked out. She has a little left over at the end of the month. I don't know. It kind of sounds like he's just dividing it evenly and not taking all of her debts and interest into account when he had his parents pay off his student loan.
That was extremely lucky on his part.
It's extremely lucky on his part.
Know?
And I'm not trying to blame him for that. It's good that your parents helped you out. But I'm just bringing that up because girlfriend didn't have that same lucky break.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I kind of feel like nobody sucks here.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to talk and maybe look at financial things and be a little more accepting of the fact that maybe you can't divide it the way that you've been dividing it.
I do feel like she was out of line sharing his financial information with other people.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that, but also it was her sister.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough when it's immediate family like that.
I also feel like if they do get married, her debts are going to become his debts.
That's true.
So I feel like if he is really serious about this girl, maybe he should be helping her out a little bit more with her finances now and help her paying down those debts, because in the long run, that is going to save them money.
Yeah, it's really tough without knowing how long they've dated.
Yeah, they're not engaged, so he is not fully committed.
Right.
So I don't know how committed he is. Does he see himself marrying this girl? Because then, yeah, start covering more of the expenses. If he does, they're living together, though, so he sees it going somewhere.
I guess so. I mean, if he's just casually dating her and they live together, then yeah, I mean, that's her problem.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're actually looking at this relationship long term, it's not that crazy to me that you pay for her trip to Florida. And yeah, she shouldn't have done that. And talk to about your finances, and asking to combine finances is also weird. But maybe she's just frustrated because you seem defensive of your money to me.
Reddit does not agree with us.
No, I can tell. I knew that from the start that I was taking.
They think she's a money-hungry gold digger and you should break up with her. Top comment, no, I'm saying this as a woman. Do not join finances with her. You are already covering more than she is, 75% joint expenses and 100% of dates. She is out of line asking for more and babbling to her sister. She needs to budget better and get a part-time job or something if she wants additional money. NTA, but she definitely is.
I feel like a lot of the Reddit comments are just going to focus on the, like, title where he said, I don't want to combine finances with her. And I feel like there's a lot of key details in there where it's like, hey, she needs a better split. And I agree. Don't combine your finances. I agree with that long no.
No!
Right. I agree with that. But it sure sounds like you're not thinking about this relationship long term to me.
Mm-hmm. NTA, her debts are not your fault.
Sounds like they're not her fault either.
A lot of them, yeah. Honestly, you're not wrong at all. You're already covering 75% of the expenses, which is more than fair. The fact that she shared your personal financial info with her sister is a huge red flag. That's a serious boundary issue and shows a lack of respect for your privacy. I'd really reconsider the relationship if she can't handle money conversations maturely or keep things between you two. It's only going to cause bigger problems down the line.
That was written by an only child, in my opinion, because you should be able to talk to your siblings about things.
Yeah.
And I get that you didn't want her to talk about your finances, but it sounds like this is a very pressing issue for her right now. She's struggling, and her sister's wondering why she had to downgrade her bachelorette party for her. Maybe she vented a little.
Maybe we're just more close with our siblings than most other people are, because, yeah, I'm pretty sure my siblings know how much money I make.
They absolutely do. Yeah, like, I was just thinking that, too. Like, I would have no trouble asking my sister, like, about money.
Yeah, I just am wondering. Yeah, I'm pretty sure my sisters know how much money you make, too. So, like, yeah, I don't think we have as much of an issue talking about money with our siblings as most of the internet seems to have.
I think that's a healthy way to go about things, though. I do not respect hiding your money to that extent.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of times when we were trying to figure out mortgage stuff, and you'd ask somebody a question, and they're like, I don't feel comfortable discussing that. Like, I wasn't asking for your financial, like, login keys. I was asking for help trying to figure out how a mortgage works. And I'm always very open about things like that. Like, I don't want people to have to struggle with learning how finances work. And I feel like not hiding things helps a lot. Like, it's just this weird social stigma that people keep letting survive.
Yeah, hide how much money you make. Don't let anybody know.
Yeah, don't let anybody know that you're living comfortably.
Yeah, don't let anybody know how much you pay for your mortgage. Don't let anybody know how much you spend on your house. Don't let them know anything about your finances.
Yeah, I feel like that's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, I do too.
We aren't the type of people that are going to get in your corner on that one, I guess.
Yeah, apparently we don't see the problem with her sharing his financial information, and everyone else on the internet is up in arms about it.
With her sister? Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, family, yes. Like, sharing it with, like, strangers or, like, acquaintances, I might have a problem with that.
Yeah, I might be like, okay, calm down a little, but this is her sister. She might tell her everything. I don't know.
Your girlfriend is financially immature, and she sees you as a way to continue to spend money without consequences. This type of drama is going to follow your relationship. I really want to know how much of her debt is, like, credit card debt from frivolous things, and how much of it is just surviving and paying off, like, her medical debt that was probably unavoidable.
That's what I want to know, too, because that commenter says that she's financially immature. We have no evidence of that.
Yeah.
We have evidence that she has debt, student, car, medical. Those are not avoidable debts.
I mean, you could avoid student loans by not going to college, but, like, is that in the long run a sound financial decision? Maybe not. You know?
Probably not. Right? Like,
so it sounds like she has been making sound financial decisions.
She's just having a tough time.
Except for the credit card debt. I have no idea how much that is and how much of it is frivolous spending.
That one's so vague, right? Like, that could be anything, so it's almost like I pushed that off the table unless you want to give me more info.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you went on Reddit and gave out a bunch of her personal info.
Yeah, if you're so upset about her sharing your info, why are you going around spreading hers on the internet with strangers?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you are looking at this relationship way too... I keep saying mathematically, but that's just sort of... It seems like you're turning it into an equation, and it's not an equation.
Yeah, I don't see this lasting long term, though, if this is how he feels about
yeah.
her and their finances.
Yeah. It sounds like he's not being as supportive as he could, and she's getting frustrated. I don't know. It sounds like you guys need to have a talk, honestly.
Yeah, because, like, when we were living together, we went through a time where you were unemployed for a little bit, and I just covered all the expenses until you got a job and got back on your feet, you know? Because I was like, I love him. I'm staying with him long term, you know? So I was totally fine covering the expenses when you were struggling, because I knew that you would do the same if I was in, you know, your position.
And that's a supportive relationship.
I was like, so even though we weren't married at the time, I was like, I was still super committed to the relationship and knew you were too. So I was like, I was okay with it.
But I never asked to combine our finances.
No, and I offered, though, because I loved you, and it was like, this is what's going to work out for us in the long term, is if,
Yeah.
And I was totally okay with that.
So it does sound like he needs to decide if he likes this relationship enough to take on more of the financial expenses,
Yeah,
and maybe she can take on more chores or something if he's worried about it being even.
Yeah, I feel like his response to this tells me that he is not in this with this girl for the long haul.
Yeah, him and every comment that you read on Reddit, it sounds like they view relationships very transactionally.
And I view it more as a partnership. We need to work on all of this together, you know, and figure out a solution together that works for us.
Yeah, and one of your strengths is you bring more money to the table, so where can I fill in to even things out? We're going to get so many people fighting with us in the comments section, and I say bring it on. You'll never find love.
If you disagree with us, you do not love your partner as much as we love each other.
Yeah.
You don't have true love like our love.
Am I the asshole for refusing to sell my house to a landlord?
Ooh, that's tough. I get that a lot of people don't like landlords because they feel like they're price gouging renters and then like buying houses out from under families and stuff. So I assume that's why you don't want to sell, but also, do you have a family lined up that wants to buy your house? I don't know.
I bought a fixer-upper in my 20s with my now ex. I bought him out, but agreed to give him back his portion of the deposit he paid upon sale, whenever that may be. We remained friends as we've known each other since childhood. Regardless of that, I still plan to stick to my work 8 years later. I told him I was in the process of selling the house. He asked me if I had any offers, and I told him yeah, from a few landlords. I didn't think that needed further explanation because he knows full well how I feel about landlords buying up starter homes in low-income areas, and how strongly I feel about turning this house into a home for myself and the next occupants. He's absolutely furious at me for not going for a quick sale because he wants his measly $5,000 back now.
But there was no timeline stated on when you would pay this back to him. Why does he suddenly, now that you're selling it, need it now? Like, he's been waiting years and you were just holding on to the property. And now that you're selling it, he wants a fast sale?
Maybe he's been holding a grudge over that $5,000 for years.
I don't know. This is confusing to me.
I told him no way and tried to remind him of all the offers we made on starter homes that just got swept up by landlords. It was devastating and we almost lost all hope of getting on the property ladder. None of them wanted this one because it needed so much work. He's blowing up my phone and told my parents, who are more gently telling me to just go for the easy sale. But I'm in no rush to move and want all my hard work to go to a family instead of someone's business. Am I the asshole?
I'm going not the asshole. I'm just so confused why all of the sudden your ex-husband is like, you need to sell it now and like go for a fast sale. Like, you've been living there for years. You're in no rush to move. You never said I'll pay you back by this date. Just I'll pay you back whenever I sell. Suddenly he's like so desperate for this money. I'm confused.
Maybe he just needs the $5,000 now and wants her to take the easy sale instead of waiting for somebody to make an offer. I mean, because she's probably getting, like, cash offers from landlords, right?
Yeah.
And people are tempted by those because you get it, like, with immediately instead of having to wait a month for all of the
paperwork and everything to go through. Yeah.
Yeah, when they're applying for a mortgage and then you have to have an inspector come in.
Mm-hmm. I'm going not the asshole, though. I totally get not wanting to sell to a landlord. When we were shopping for a house, all of the decent fixer-uppers were swept up by flippers, like, immediately for cash offers. And we had a really hard time finding a fixer-upper in our price range that we were capable of fixing up and that, we could afford.
Yeah. The ones that didn't have offers were, like, in really bad shape.
Like, the foundation was cracked. And we're like, we can't fix that.
No, that one probably needed to be knocked down.
Yeah.
But also, the thing that always got to me was that they made cash offers for less than what we were offering them.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I need the money now. So they didn't want to wait a month for all of our paperwork to go through.
Yeah, I was like, you're just waiting a month and losing out on
it was like $10,000.
Yeah, I was like, so you're just don't want to wait a month for the extra $10,000. You'd rather have the cash now, which seems crazy to me.
Yeah. They got loan sharks knocking on their door with crowbars. They need that money now.
But I totally get not wanting to sell to landlords and wanting it to go to like a new family as their starter home, you know?
Personally, I don't have anything against a landlord for the most part.
Mhm.
Like a slum, there's a difference between a landlord and a slumlord, in my opinion, you know? And there are some pretty crappy renters out there.
Yes.
So maybe that's the type of people you've had experience with, which I'm sorry.
If there was a house that I had put like my heart and soul into like fixing up and like customizing it to how I wanted it, I don't know if I would want it to go to a landlord and renters, because renters sometimes are very hard on houses and destroy a lot of things because it's not their house.
Yeah, the landlord's just going to take out all the character.
Yeah.
She's very attached to this house. She wants it to go to like a young couple or something, which I can respect. And
Yeah.
I can respect waiting for that to get an offer like that.
Yeah, I do feel like the landlord is eventually going to give your house the landlord special and paint over all of the, light sockets and
Oh, absolutely.
paint the doorknobs and do a horrible job. It's going to look like a terrible house in a few years. Because
Yeah.
the landlord doesn't care about the house like you do.
I mean, if you're financially stable enough to wait, there's nothing wrong with waiting.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like your ex-husband is not financially stable enough to wait, but I feel like that's not your problem. He's your ex-husband, and there was no timeline specified on when you would sell this house and give him the money.
Right.
Not part of your agreement, not your problem.
There is a short edit.
Uh-huh.
Giving him the $5,000 specifically from the sale has been discussed over messages many times in the past. If I just give him $5,000 now, he could say I still owe him from the sale of the house. Getting him out was a nightmare as he can be pretty nasty. I thought you stayed friends.
Yeah.
Well,
If he's pretty nasty, yeah, you don't owe him any favors.
most of the time he's fine, but he suddenly switches and goes to war with people. Okay.
Okay, well, be expected for him to go to war with you about this, because apparently he's a nasty person.
I mean, he already has. He went and told your parents on you, right?
Yeah. And why are your parents siding with him?
I think they're just saying take the easy sale and to probably whatever the highest offer is, right?
Mm-hmm. Which is financially a sound decision, but you're making a decision more with your heart than with your...
Wallet.
Yes.
Which I can respect if you can afford that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just need to say, this person offered me the most money, I cannot care beyond that point, which is also fine.
Yes.
I will also add in, you can just write up a little contract that says the $5,000 is the $5,000 debt from the house.
Yes,
You
and
don't-
you owe him nothing more beyond that. Just write up a little contract for
Yeah,
that.
hire a lawyer, they'll probably slap one together really fast.
Yeah, for pretty cheap, because that's a pretty easy thing to write.
I'm sure they just pull a form out of a drawer and hand it to you. Top comment is pretty much the same thing we just said. Get a lawyer, they'll draft a contract for you for the $5,000, and you don't have to worry about his opinion anymore. It's not complicated. You say he can be nasty, but he wants a quick sale so he can get his money. So he has every incentive to agree to this because he gets money now. That's true. He only gets $5,000 out of the sale.
Yeah.
You've been in this house for 8 years, at least.
Uh-huh.
That house has gone up in value a lot.
Yes.
It's probably tripled. So he just wants his $5,000 so he can stop angrily looking at the Zillow listing. Not the asshole. You don't owe a landlord a sale. You don't owe your ex instant cash. You're selling responsibly and sticking to your values. Nothing wrong with that. To which OP replied, technically, I don't owe him any cash at all. I paid him for all the equity he had in the house. I stupidly agreed to it honestly just to convince him to leave. He has on and off gambling and drug issues, so going off his current attitude, one of those things has taken the lead. My God!
Why are you still friends with him? You said you ended things amicably. I don't think you did.
I think you were just trying to be nice.
Yeah.
And then you just kept revealing new facts about him. Not the asshole. He can be patient and suck it up. It's your house, you bought him out, and your choice. If you don't want to sell to a rich asshole who's only going to use the place for a quick profit, that's your choice, and both your ex and parents can butt out. If you're able to just give him the $5,000 before you sell the house so he stops pestering you about it and is removed from the equation.
Would I be the asshole if I didn't give my cousin the wedding photos I took because she refused to pay me back for the camera equipment she broke?
Well, I'm going to assume that she broke it in such a way that you had to ask her to reimburse you, in which case she owes you money, so that's just part of the deal now. I think.
I'm an amateur photographer and agreed to take pictures at her wedding as a favor, not as a paid job. During the reception, she accidentally knocked over my bag, which had one of my lenses inside, and it cracked beyond repair. I told her about it, and she just laughed and said, "That's the risk of bringing expensive stuff to parties."
Okay, you asked her to bring this expensive stuff.
The lens cost me a lot, and I'm still paying it off. When I asked her to help me cover the cost, since she caused the damage, she refused and said I should be grateful she let me practice at her wedding. The photos are edited and ready, but I don't feel right handing them over when she won't even take responsibility for what she broke. So, would I be the asshole if I didn't give her the wedding photos?
So, in your cousin's opinion, you were working for exposure.
Yeah.
At her glamorous wedding, I'm sure.
Yeah, okay, that I feel makes the cousin the asshole.
Right?
You should feel grateful I let you practice at my wedding.
I can't.
What?
How am I supposed to get on that person's side after that comment? I don't know. So it depends a lot on how you stored it. Like if you set it on the edge, like lazily, and she knocked it over she did knock it over by accident, you said.
Yes, it was an accident.
But but you're working for free. Maybe the solution is you split the cost of the lens.
I feel like this is why you never do something like this for free, or you, at least even if you're doing it for free, need to have a contract written up.
It sure sounds like you should have. Yeah, I know it's your cousin, and you're trying to do her a favor. It sounds like cousin was not grateful for the favor.
Oh no, she thought you should be grateful.
Yes. So, you kind of put yourself in a rough position here. You're not the asshole, in my opinion, because if there was no contract, you never agreed to give her those photos.
Now, I will say, if someone accidentally breaks equipment like that at a wedding or something, I don't feel that it should be on them to pay necessarily.
If they did it by accident, like if they're just walking past and it catches on their sleeve and it falls off, that's on you.
I feel like as a wedding photographer, you should have insurance to cover your equipment damage, shouldn't you?
Which you obviously don't because you're an amateur.
Yes.
Yeah, which you obviously don't have because you're an amateur. You were just doing this to, I guess, do your cousin a favor, I think. Sounds like you weren't doing it to practice. But as a photographer, you own all the photos that you took.
Yes.
And they technically own the rights to their likeness. So these photos are now trapped in a purgatory that you both have to agree on before they're released. So you have a lot of power here. And if you think that you deserve some compensation for the lens, you think that it was more her fault, that it was like a preventable accident, I think you're fully in your rights to say, hey, I'm not giving you the photos until you pay like half the lens cost.
Okay, even if I don't feel that someone who breaks something by accident should have to pay the full price for it or anything, I do feel like her response to you asking for it makes her the asshole, and now I want her to pay.
I agree, but the fact that you were working for free makes me think that the correct, polite, adult response from the cousin should have been, hey, sorry I broke your lens, that sucks, let me help pay for it.
Yes.
So, yeah, your cousin sounds like an asshole.
Top comment, say you lost the pics and laugh, saying, that's what you get for not paying for a professional photographer at a wedding.
That's a good one. I like that.
That's what you get for bringing expensive equipment to a party.
Yep. And then be like, I could take it to a hard drive recovery place and see if I can get it, but they're going to charge this much. And conveniently, that's half the cost of my lens. Isn't that crazy?
That's exactly what the next comment is, followed up by, if you give me the money, I can have a professional data recovery team get them back. Funny the cost is the same as a new lens. Someone else thinks it's time to be a little petty and add $200 as a fee for the photos.
I mean, it sure sounds like it. I don't think you have a contract written up, so there's probably no legal precedence for her to be able to get these photos from you.
Yeah, you can set whatever terms you want now.
Yep. That's
no contract.
That's why everything about weddings costs so much, because people know that they can gouge the bride and groom. Time to join that group.
Tell her she can have the photos just as soon as she pays for the lens. Honestly, her laughing and saying that's the risk of bringing expensive stuff to parties is infuriating since it's there because you were doing her a favor. I'd maybe charge her for your work as well. NTA.
Yeah.
OP responded, "It's not even about the money at this point, it's the disrespect."
It's a little about the money, though.
Yeah, it's still about the money.
Brides like this are the reason that all of my friends that do photography no longer do wedding photography.
Yes. Yeah, I know quite a few people who are like into photography and then did a few weddings and then were like, nope.
Nope. Our wedding photographer, who was a friend of a friend, she only does baby portraits now because weddings burnt her out.
Yep. I think she was phasing out of weddings as we hired her.
Yeah.
And she was like, but you're, so-and-so's friend, so I'll still do your wedding. But really, I only do baby pictures now.
She did great. I think she wasn't upset with our wedding.
No.
I think it was...
I think we were one of her easier clients, I will say.
I sure hope so, right?
Right. But yeah, I can see weddings are stressful, and being a wedding photographer would be such a stressful job.
Yeah, because you're in charge of capturing every precious moment for them.
I feel like I'm such a people pleaser. I could never do that job because if they expressed even a little bit of disappointment in any of the photos, I would be like heartbroken that I ruined their day.
That's true.
So anyways, not the asshole. Yeah, your cousin should be paying you something. And Reddit agrees.
I think if you have an amateur photographer, you're going to get amateur photos. And it sounds like you're not even going to get those now.
That's it for this episode of Josh and Kristie Stealing the Internet.
Thanks for joining us. Hit that subscribe button and we'll see you next time. This is the skull of the last person that didn't hit the subscribe button. Subscribe! Made a very plasticky noise.
He did. Also, he's like a basket weave skull. What's wrong with him?